Female villains across film and TV often have three things in common: a killer wardrobe, a dramatic beauty look, and an arsenal of memorable one-liners that help to ensure the spotlight remains just on them. But behind those flawlessly fake smiles and Hollywood-perfect personas hide the most notorious people. While their on-screen characters might have won our hearts, their off-screen selves were cold, calculating, and downright cruel. From legendary feuds that closed entire productions to painful rivalries that dragged on for decades, these are the top 15 most cruel actresses of Hollywood's golden age. And trust me, the number 2 will just shock you. Number 15. Tula Bankhead. Politician's daughter, classic movie star, West End actress, and all-around libertine-turned-talk show host in later years, Tula carved out a reputation as Hollywood's great equal opportunity tormentor. Her sharp tongue and theatrical antics spared no one, from crew members to A-list co-stars. Bankhead loved humiliating others. She often gives brutal insults mid-scene or mocks actors' looks and technique with crude, unforgettable one-liners. During lifeboat rehearsals, she once crushed a young actor by blurting out, "Darling, you're acting so awful it could make a vulture vomit." She'd intentionally sabotage takes by fidgeting in close-ups, improvising wildly, or botching her lines just to throw others off. Alfred Hitchcock noted her love for power games, especially when dealing with people she viewed as beneath her, which, by her standards, was nearly everyone. Behind the scenes, she hosted parties where she'd systematically humiliate friends, digging up old failures for sport. With Bankhead, cruelty wasn't collateral, it was the main performance. She died at age 66 and was buried in St. Paul's churchyard without fanfare. Number 14. Vivian Lee. She gave us Scarlett O'Hara and Blanche DuBois, two of cinema's most haunting icons, and yet Vivian Lee's real-life persona was often more disturbing than either role. While her battle with bipolar disorder adds depth to her story, many co-stars claimed her cruel behavior was not just erratic, it was deliberate. Lee's obsessive need for perfection wreaked havoc on film sets. During Gone with the Wind, she forced endless reshoots of exhausting scenes simply because they didn't meet her impossible standards. She once crushed Olivia de Havilland's hand mid-scene, then smiled as her co-star winced in pain. She mocked Lee Marvin openly on Ship of Fools, ridiculing his acting in front of the entire cast. If the camera wasn't on her, she'd ruin the take. Even Laurence Olivier, her husband, suffered her manipulations. She would flirt with men in front of him, then explode with accusations to keep control. She even said, "I don't think men are all important." Finally, this British actress said goodbye to Earth on July 8, 1967, at 53. Number 13. Miriam Hopkins. If she is known at all today, the controversial Miriam is usually recognized as the troublemaking, diminutive blonde who made 2 films with her hated rival, Bette Davis, the old maid and old acquaintance, and destroyed her own career because of her bossy, attention-seeking behavior. Back in Hollywood's golden days, Miriam was more feared than admired, an actress infamous for stealing scenes and igniting chaos on set. Director William Wyler, who worked with her on These Three and The Children's Hour, called her incredibly difficult and once told her, "You make me sick." Her feud with Bette Davis was legendary, with Hopkins purposely fidgeting during Davis's close-ups just to ruin the shot. Davis later quipped, "I learned more from Miriam about what not to do." Hopkins constantly pushed for rewrites to boost her own screen time, threw diva fits over lighting setups, and harbored a venomous jealousy that regularly derailed productions. Studios tolerated her for a while, but eventually, her cruelty cost her everything. Number 12. Susan Hayward. With flaming red hair and an even hotter temper, Susan Hayward was every bit the drama she brought to the screen. Critics adored her emotionally charged performances, but her co-stars dreaded the chaos she left in her wake. Her temper tantrums were legendary, props hurled, scenes ruined, and directors screamed at over the slightest perceived offense. During I Want to Live, the very film that earned her an Oscar, she reportedly fired 3 makeup artists for minor slip-ups. Robert Mitchum once warned, "Working with Susan is like sharing a cage with a tigress. She will strike without any mercy." Hayward had a cruel streak for supporting actresses. She'd whisper during rehearsals, then belt her lines during takes to ruin others' timing. No one else on set was allowed to wear red because it's her color, she insisted. Her vindictiveness seeped into her personal life, too. During a bitter divorce, she barred her ex-husband from seeing their twin sons and told them he didn't care. The custody battle got so dark, it nearly turned deadly. Number 11. Constance Bennett. Elegant, poised, and paid more than anyone else in early 1930. Hollywood, Constance oozed star power, and she knew it. At $30,000 a week, she treated herself like a queen and others like roaches. Crew members were invisible to her. She wouldn't learn their names, choosing instead to snap or point like a queen summoning a servant. One infamous incident is when she stepped on a technician's hand as he adjusted a cable without so much as a glance back when he cried in pain. Her prime targets were younger actresses she viewed as threats. Even Joan Crawford, no stranger to diva behavior herself, called Bennett the most conceited, self-absorbed actress to ever enter a studio. Constance's words could cut deeper than a katana. She once told a nervous newcomer, "I'm shocked they dragged you out of whatever nowhere town you came from, but stunned they expect you to talk." She even sabotaged her own sisters' careers, whispering poison into the ears of studio heads to keep the spotlight all to herself, then died in 1965. Number 10. June Allison. With her big smile and amazing charm, June was America's cinematic sweetheart. But behind the saccharine grin lurked one of Hollywood's most polished manipulators. Director David Miller once remarked, "No one delivered cruelty with more grace than June." Allison's strategy wasn't public tantrums. It was quiet sabotage. She'd flash a warm smile for press photos, then turn around and emotionally eviscerate crew members where cameras couldn't catch it. She often targets young, fresh actresses. She'd give them friendly makeup or performance tips, always engineered to make them look awkward or unprepared. Her husband, actor-director Dick Powell, often bore the brunt in private. Friends recalled moments when Powell emerged from closed-door conversations looking shell-shocked. Allison kept mental dossiers on rivals, flaws, scandals, secrets, and somehow, after crossing paths with her, a few rising stars mysteriously lost momentum. June maintained just enough deniability to preserve her image. To the public, she was the girl next door. To colleagues, she was the bad storm waiting behind the door. Number 9. Pette Goddard. With a face made for magazine covers and an air of effortless grace, Pette Goddard had everyone fooled until they realized the real performance was happening off camera. Her journey from Ziegfeld showgirl to major Hollywood player wasn't just built on talent. It was made through calculated charm and quiet sabotage. Goddard's cruelty didn't erupt in public outbursts. Instead, she thrived on stealthy manipulation and social warfare behind the scenes. She'd befriend fellow actresses, win their trust, then feed their secrets to producers to edge them out of roles. During her marriage to Charlie Chaplin, she methodically cut him off from friends and longtime allies, controlling access and withholding information. Household staff revealed she imposed unrealistic demands, then berated them when they failed. One former maid recalled her dumping out an entire drawer of neatly folded lingerie over one wrinkled item, then forcing her to redo it while she criticized every move. Her rivalry with Katharine Hepburn allegedly sparked damaging rumors. Rumors many believe Goddard herself set in motion. Goddamn. Number 8. Ginger Rogers. This beautiful lady was the very image of elegance, bold, hot, and sexy. But behind the scenes, that perfection came at a brutal cost. Rogers was notorious for her exacting standards and for punishing anyone who failed to meet them. Dancers were frequent victims of her. Even a minor misstep could trigger a public tongue-lashing so severe it left seasoned professionals in tears. Makeup and wardrobe crews often bore the brunt. She'd request complex costume changes moments before cameras rolled, then lash out when they weren't delivered instantly. One artist recalled her wiping off a full face of makeup right before a scene, then blaming the delay on the team. Even Astaire, famed for his professionalism, eventually refused to work with her again. He quietly told friends that witnessing her treatment of others had become unbearable. Rogers once justified her cruelty bluntly. "Mediocrity should hurt. I'm just making sure everyone feels it." For her, cruelty and excellence walked hand in hand. What do you think about her? Let us know. Number 7. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford's legacy is as much about power as it is performance. Though Mommy Dearest etched her cruelty into pop culture, the real fear came from her behind-the-scenes tactics. She didn't just feud, she waged full-scale professional war. When threatened by another actress, she activated a step-by-step strategy. Collect dirt, spread whispers, and strike when it hurt most. She was infamous for accepting roles specifically to block younger actresses from rising. On the set of The Women, she deliberately disrupted Norma Shearer's takes, stepped on lines, and spread rumors about Shearer's mental decline. She pulled similar moves decades later with Faye Dunaway on Mommy Dearest. Her mentorships were traps. She'd befriend promising actresses, then sabotage their image with toxic advice, shady introductions, and well-timed gossip. Her cruelty wasn't dramatic, it was methodical. She didn't scream, she plotted. And once you were in her sights, there was no escape. In Hollywood, Crawford didn't compete, she conquered. Number 6. Veronica Lake. Lake's signature peekaboo waves and smoky allure made her one of the most iconic faces of the 1940s. But behind the sultry charm was a reputation that earned her the nickname "the storm with the peekaboo bangs" among Hollywood insiders. Lake's cruelty was often fueled by alcohol and untreated mental illness, yet co-stars recalled biting malice that couldn't be excused by personal struggles alone. She memorized colleagues' insecurities and weaponized them when bored or threatened. On This Gun for Hire, she discovered Alan Ladd's sensitivity about his height and wore high heels while making constant jabs at his stature. Crew members described him as visibly shaken. Female co-stars weren't spared either. Freddie Bartholomew recalled Lake derailing her close-ups with distracting gestures or line changes. Lake once sneered, "Act through it or leave." She spilled coffee on costumes, disappeared mid-shoot, and exhausted even tolerant directors. Preston Sturges summed it up. Life's too short to direct Lake. Number 5. Loretta Young. With her angelic image, devout faith, and a reputation as one of Hollywood's most ideal stars, Loretta sold the world a version of herself that couldn't have been further from the truth. Behind the soft voice and moral preaching was what one director bluntly called the coldest lady I ever worked with. Her cruelty wasn't loud, it was calculating and wrapped in righteousness. On set, she kept a swear jar, but fined only the people she disliked, favoritism in its pettiest form. The money, claimed to go to charity, often ended up in her own pocket, according to assistants. She targeted young actresses by pretending to mentor them, then fed them bad advice that tanked their scenes. Once, she told a newcomer to speak up in a soft, dramatic moment, getting her scolded publicly. In her personal life, she kept her daughter Judy Lewis in the dark about being Clark Gable's child, denying her identity for decades. Her cruelty, always delivered with a prayer and a smile. Number 4. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck's journey from poverty to screen royalty built one of Hollywood's most formidable reputations. Revered for her discipline and grit, those who crossed her saw another side, what director Cecil B. DeMille described as the most precisely vindictive woman I've ever met. Unlike stars born into wealth, Stanwyck's ruthlessness was rooted in survival. She saw the industry as a zero-sum game, where every rival's win meant her own loss. Her tactics were chillingly efficient, targeting others' professional insecurities and exploiting them with unnerving precision. During Double Indemnity, she discovered her younger co-star struggled with line memorization and began requesting last-minute script changes, ensuring their scenes fell apart. Directors who challenged her never faced overt rebellion. She preferred psychological warfare, eroding their authority with whispers, calculated delays, and private leverage. Her methods weren't theatrical. Stanwyck didn't throw tantrums. She waited, watched, and struck where it hurt most. Number 3. Judy Garland. Garland's legacy is often wrapped in tragedy, child stardom, abuse, and addiction, but those who worked closely with her tell a story of pain turned outward. Garland's cruelty didn't stem from arrogance, it came from deep hurt, and it was brutal. Colleagues recalled her calculated takedowns of anyone she envied, especially performers who seemed emotionally whole. If another actress received praise, she responded with sabotage, upstaging, whisper campaigns, or pressuring producers to cut their roles. Margaret dubbed it psychological warfare in lipstick. She targeted younger versions of herself with cool precision, first offering kindness, then picking at their insecurities with veiled insults. In relationships, her cruelty sharpened. Multiple partners described emotional whiplash, public embarrassment, gaslighting, and threats of self-harm used as leverage. Her third husband, Sid Luft, said Garland could break you in half with a sentence. Her pain was real, but so was the damage she left behind. She didn't just hurt, she made sure you did too. Number 2. Ethel Barrymore. As a member of America's most revered theatrical dynasty, Ethel brought immense talent and a uniquely aristocratic cruelty to Hollywood. Her venom wasn't loud, it was composed and creepy. Barrymore saw film actors as inferior, particularly those without stage credentials, and made her disdain known in subtle, cutting ways. Her signature tactic, nicknamed the Royal Displacement, involved rehearsing scenes a certain way to set timing, then flipping her performance entirely during filming, leaving co-stars floundering. She never confronted directors outright. Instead, she would appear obedient, while conveying silent contempt through facial expressions and calculated pauses. One director said, "She could ruin your confidence with a single eyebrow raise." Young actresses from humble backgrounds were often tricked into thinking she'd mentor them, only to receive sabotaging advice disguised as guidance. Barrymore's power came not from volume or scandal, but from restraint. She didn't shout you down, she dismantled you piece by piece. Number 1. Zsa Zsa Gabor. Zsa Zsa knew how to steal a room. But her status wasn't just built on charm, it was guarded by ruthless social warfare. Known more for her marriages than her movies, Gabor carved her place in Hollywood through manipulation and mockery. She relished humiliating guests at parties, often pairing people from wildly different social backgrounds and making pointed jokes at their expense. One notorious example, seating a plumber beside royalty and quipping about inter-class mingling. Former staff reported bizarre rituals, like mandatory uniform inspections and forced costume changes. One butler said she made him change 4 times, claiming she could smell poverty. When a younger actress moved into her neighborhood, Gabor launched a smear campaign, noise complaints, rumors of mental illness, even false reports to animal control. Her cruelty extended to lovers too, flirting openly, then berating them for reacting. But in Tinseltown, cruelty, when delivered with sparkle, often passed as fun. She understood this all too well. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.